Hi, everyone. As I was getting adjusted to my life in isolation and working with my courses and starting to teach online this week, I thought it would be a good idea to check in with some of our alumni to see how this coronavirus pandemic was affecting them, both personally and professionally. And so today I'm really happy to be speaking with Ashley Hebler. And Ashley is a front-end developer at the Texas Tribune who graduated from our program, our master's degree from our program in 2012. So thanks so much for speaking with me today, Ashley.
Thanks for having me.
I know things are busy and hectic, so I'll only take a little bit of your time. I hope everything's going okay with you. First of all, talk a little bit about what it is that you do for Texas Tribune as a front-end developer.
Sure. So I am on the engineering team at the Texas Tribune. Our responsibilities include working on the content management system, our CMS. So just giving our reporters and editors the tools to get the news out to the world. And I kind of focus on the more design-related, styles-related part of the website. But on the engineering team, we have to be ready for kind of anything they throw our way.
And so how has it been working with the stay-at-home orders? How long have you been working at home, and how have you had to set up your work life to be able to do this?
Yeah, sure. So we're a couple weeks in now. I guess sort of the fortunate thing of being so up to date on the news and working in a newsroom is that they got out ahead of everything. So our upper management, they planned ahead. We were working from home probably before it was like mandated. So we had a lot of time to prepare, and we knew it was coming.
And so how has collaboration been working when you have to work with other members of your team? Some of this probably you have experience with because maybe people have worked at home individual days over time. But how does collaboration work when everyone is in an at-home environment?
So like you said, we have experience with that already. Most of our team does like once a week, we do work from home day. So we kind of had a lot of systems in place already, which was really helpful. And then, just specifically being on the engineering team, everything we do, everything we contribute back to the newsroom starts in GitHub. Anything from the CMS to even our newsletters, it all starts with code. So anything that's like code specific, any of that communication will always be closely tied to GitHub. Of course, like GitHub's really great for collaboration, but it can't handle everything. So I think for the other lingering items, like who's working on what and what's the project scope and things like that, we stick to Slack. And Slack has been really great just because it's almost like this transcribed log of discussions. So I can even reference back to before I started working there to see if anyone had come across a bug or a feature, if it's already been discussed. It's really helpful to have that logged.
And how about meetings? Have you guys had any Zoom meetings? Have you had it as like a larger organization or with your team specifically?
We're kind of on G Suite, so we do a lot of Google Hangouts, but we have kind of tiptoed into Zoom these days. But something that our company recently instituted was weekly all staff meetings. We've had those in the past, but they're kind of more frequent now. And I think the idea is, there's so much uncertainty everywhere else. They want to offer us some semblance of like stability and transparency. And I think that has been really helpful for me personally. It's just, we discuss everything from finances to HR, to, projects and things like that. And that I feel like that's been really helpful.
So the Texas Tribune has been a really important news source for Texas in the midst of this pandemic. They've been publishing a lot of data. They've obviously been doing reporting on how this is affecting the state politically as well as in other realms. Can you speak to some of the broader effects that this is having on the Texas Tribune outside of your particular department?
Sure. So events is a big deal for us. We have an event space and, we kind of plan the year around those events. So we had to make a quick pivot. And, this isn't specifically my department, but it kind of touches all departments in the messaging that we deliver around the events, because we had to basically switch them all to virtual, online, like everyone is having to do. So that was a big kind of, let's quickly get this done. And it, it deviates from our normal process of how things work because it has to be so quick. And just kind of, I know our reporters and editors have had to switch up how they normally plan out the news for the day. They've changed their strategy and approach on that to kind of meet the needs of what people need to know right now.
So what kind of skills have people had to develop or they had to have to be able to be successful in this environment that required like a quick change?
Sure. So I think about some of our folks that have recently started with us that haven't even gotten, they haven't even been into the office yet. So we haven't had any FaceTime with them. And I think, no matter how you frame it, like it's more difficult to communicate with people. So I think the strategy around that is to kind of use Slack and any, whatever your chat service is, to not just talk about work related things, but kind of, we have these discussions like, where are you getting groceries? But kind of offering your personality. It's helpful to see like what makes you tick. Our HR person kind of threw out the tip of like, change your like make your picture actually you, because it like helps to see a face, helps to see who you're talking to.
So have there been any problems that have come up that you can talk about that had to be solved very quickly that were particular to this environment of everybody working at home?
So I think one of the biggest benefits of being physically in the office is when things go wrong. So if we have a site outage or if we are working on the same project. So I think we kind of have to, change how we are communicating, like, hey, are you working on this? I'm working on this. It's a lot of making sure you're not doing duplicative work. And like I said, like I keep referring back to Slack, but Slack is kind of okay, let's like over communicate here, just in case, and like let everyone know, like, I'm fixing this bug right now. You don't need to do it. Or I'm aware of this and I'm thinking about it, I'm working on it. So our strategy has just been to kind of over communicate, I think, to solve that.
I mean, I think like everything, the communication is always the most important skill that someone can have, no matter how technical your role is. And particularly in this environment, that is something that's really standing out. Can you talk a little bit more about like other skills that people need to be developing now to be able to work in an environment like this?
Sure. I mean, there's that ability to learn on the fly. Like you could be used to one platform like Zoom for communicating, but someone else uses something else. And I think just being open to trying out different tools and software, just like kind of preparing yourself for all the things that can be thrown your way, during the day-to-day job.
And so what advice do you have for somebody who is at home now and they're maybe struggling with working in an at-home environment?
Kind of building an online community is like so important right now. It is much easier to do now than it was before because everyone's at home at the same time. But I have a coworker that is kind of going it alone. He's quarantined by himself, but he recently started playing Fortnite, which he says has been it sounds trivial, but it's been the thing he looks forward to at the end of the day because it's his way of like socializing with people. So I thought that was a kind of a creative way to handle that.
I mean, I think there are all these sort of coping strategies in addition to just sort of setting up our workplace and how we're working so that we all stay sane and we can have a little bit of normalcy in our lives.
Right. Some routine.
Yeah, absolutely. Some routine, really kind of going through your mind of what is okay to do now. Should I go for a walk? Where am I supposed to go for a walk? Should I sit on the porch and talk to neighbors? How far away do I need to be? And it's been a pretty confusing time. It's been particularly confusing for students who many are going to be graduating soon. And this is a really tough time, and it's really tough to give advice right now. But if you were to give advice to somebody who's about to graduate and go on the job market, what kind of suggestions would you have for them that they should be doing right now?
I guess I'll start out with kind of maybe an obvious one right now, but the reality is I think there's a good chance your interview will be via webcam. It'll be a virtual interview. And just in my experience with those, and that's really not different now, because if you're, interviewing for a place that's not where you live, you're probably going to be doing that anyway. So one thing that I've noticed with that is it's really easy to stay engaged and look engaged when you're face to face with a person, but on screen, I think it's a little bit more challenging. So I would suggest just being mindful of that, making sure you're enthusiastic, alert. And then the other thing that is maybe obvious, but might be worth bringing up is making sure on the technology front, your audio is really good. I've been in interviews where the candidate is great, but there's this distraction of the audio is echoing, or it's just not quite clear. And you don't want that to take away from the fact that you're a great candidate for this role. And another one that's kind of more general and not specific to this current situation would be trying to have a specialty. And I know that's kind of hard just because, you're just out of the gate, you're kind of more in an exploratory phase. But it doesn't have to be something that you're an expert in, just maybe something that you're particularly interested in. I think that's helpful. Things like email marketing and audience engagement are a really big deal right now. And if you find that it's hard, because the reality is it's a little bit harder to find jobs specifically in journalism right now. I think if you have a specialty that can translate into other industries, that's really helpful. Me personally, I started out of grad school in e-commerce, and I eventually could switch back into media, but I had to find the right time. So.
And I guess in general, when in the past you have been involved in hiring people, are there certain things that help a candidate stand out from another, particularly as related to their resume, their background, their portfolio, that you might want to share?
Yes. So resumes are great, but online portfolios are absolutely essential. And I know, I sat in your class and you told us this, and I just have to reiterate it because it's 100% correct. I still come across candidates that don't have that, and it really is harder for them to stand out. I can definitely attest to that.
So I think maybe the lesson from this is, if you have some extra time right now that you didn't necessarily plan on having, it would be a good time to really bolster that online portfolio and make yourself look as strong as possible, so that then when they are on the market, they're going to be as competitive as they can be.
Exactly. Yeah. Use this time, even if you have an existing one, just make sure it's polished and up to date. Because I know that I am guilty of this too, but it's easy for those to go kind of outdated.
Right. And especially now, people are stressed and they have other priorities, but if they can get focused on those things that are going to help them. And that's really what I've been kind of focusing on with the classes for the rest of this semester is, what we're going to focus on are the projects that are going to help you when you get out of school, and not a lot of busy work. The things that we can most handle in an online environment most efficiently as well. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today, and virtually say hello to all my friends at Texas Tribune. We really appreciate all the hard work all of you are doing in keeping us informed in Texas. And I hope that I can see you again sometime.
Yes, me too. All right. Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you.